Three, two, one. Stefan Koglek of Color Haze. Good
Yes.
afternoon. Good early evening on your end, I believe it is. It's beer time either way. It's early
Sorry.
evening on your end. I think it's beer time either way.
Yeah, basically afternoon, 4 o'clock.
Okay, so this is my second pot of coffee. So
Yeah.
it is nice to talk to you. It was wonderful to see you in New York when you came through, when you guys came and played Desert Fest. I do want to talk about that and sort of dig into your impressions of the city and that experience and all that. I do want to also ask you though first about Keep It Low, which was this past weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
How was Keep It Low? A regular appearance,
Oh,
certainly.
Keep it low. I like all this round of these festivals. Desert Fest, Keep It Low is kind of the same. Or comes a bit from Sound of Liberation. Fruit Desert Fest New York is a different organization. It's from London. Well, yeah, of course, playing the festival in your hometown where you play every year, kind of like the in-house band
Right.
or something.
Yeah.
That's always a nice thing. It's a bit, more cozy. And anyway, of course, it's not as thrilling as going to New York with all the efforts and
Right.
that festival. But yeah, Keep It Low. And we had, after New York, we had two great shows. We had a very nice show in Berlin and a terrific venue in legendary old place called the Metropole, which was a kind of Art Nouveau, high ceiling, free storages ballroom. Looked fantastic, acoustically difficult, but worked out pretty good in the end. And then we had now Keep It Low Festival last Saturday, which was a blast as well.
The
So
regular stop, right? I mean,
they're
it's kind of, it's kind of nice. It's every year that festival gets announced and it's like, oh, hey, Color Haze is playing again. It's kind of cool.
yeah,
As you say, the house band.
the house band, yeah.
Yeah. And a different, not quite as novel as Coming to New York.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that then. What did you think of New York, Stefan?
Well, there's a lot of things. I always, I mean, I had the same impression like I was in a longer holiday with my wife, like, I don't know, 24 years ago or something in New York, where we took a whole week to basically walk through the city, mostly walking through Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really huge. So
it's a big one.
You need time to go to places. And it's a city that feels quite as actually has a good vibe to some extent because it really feels like energetic and open in some sort of way. So I like walking through New York City.
Mm-hmm.
I had this experience basically this time again. So it was, of course, it was only a short trip, and it was only one morning when we really went into the city over the Brooklyn Bridge.
Okay. Yeah. Did you walk the Brooklyn Bridge?
Yeah, of course.
Nice.
We took the subway first, but then we walked the bridge. Yeah, you have to walk some things to really be there and experience them. And I just had to get basically I just had to get into Manhattan to get some guitar straps because I got some guitars by Guild. But I forgot to tell them I need straps to hang them around my shoulders, so they didn't send me any. And I was, well, with the jet lag and everything, I had very little sleep in New York, of course, and it was only like I was awake again, which was like 9 or 10 o'clock my time, but it was 4 o'clock in the morning. There was nothing to do.
Yes.
After only 4 hours of sleep, but anyway, I was quite energetic all the time. And just after the trip, I needed like 3 days to really recover.
Yeah, you do.
Sleep a lot.
Yeah, I mean, adrenaline gets you through, right? I mean, you get to a place and it's new.
At least it worked for the shows in New York where I was really awake because sometimes with our music it's sometimes difficult. If I'm too tired on tour and shows we are often playing very late, and then I tend to forget stuff. I simply audience shouldn't recognize, but I forget sometimes. I know, and sometimes I forget how the song goes on and what to play next, because Yeah, it's like doing a math test late at night when you're not really awake anymore. That's like playing this music.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's a great way to think about your art. It's the math test late at night.
yeah. It's about performing it on stage. It's
I
the math.
know, I know. I'm kidding. It's fine.
I know.
Mario seemed to love New York. It's
Yeah,
I got to talk to him a little bit at the Knockdown Center about it, and
yeah.
he had gone exploring, I guess the Wednesday or Thursday, whenever it was, and kind of done some sightseeing down in Brooklyn by the piers and all this, and man, I haven't seen someone so jazzed up on New York in a really long time. It
Okay.
was kind of refreshing actually, because usually
Yeah,
it's, if you live here, or and I don't live in New York, I won't claim to. I live in New Jersey. It's a separate animal entirely.
yeah.
But you know, eh, if you're here, it's usually just kind of a thing to complain about. So
Well,
to have
I think
to have it be
if I
new to
would live in
somebody
New
was
York,
nice.
I think, yeah, I think if we would live in New York, we would complain too,
That's exactly what
because
I mean.
that's just what it is to be at this place. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
have to complain about it. And apparently, nobody actually lives in New York. Like you're in New Jersey, which is completely somewhere else.
Yep.
And of course, the people in Brooklyn live in Brooklyn, which is not New
They
York.
do. They do. In my we yes, I do make fun of Brooklyn a little bit by calling it the part of Long Island they call Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is that. But Brooklyn is its own thing too. The
Yeah.
boroughs over time seem to have kind of separated. Manhattan is too
But
expensive
you,
for anything but investment
yeah,
real
but
estate. So
I
nobody
mean,
lives.
you really also have this in European cities. Like when I was living in Munich, I was not so much considering myself of being part of Munich, but I was kind of somebody from Sendling, which was the part of the city where I was grown
Yeah.
up and living there. And uh, yeah, I also discussed this thing also at the festival with other people. It is, I think, also what Mario had, because he had a list of things he wanted to see in New York.
Ah,
And
itinerary.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So he took every minute he could get to be on the subway and off to somewhere else. Um, I think it's, we got this backpack here from because of a lot of the cultural, yeah, how to say, about the cultural horizon we are giving by movies, by music, by
Mm-hmm.
literature. Um, I think it's like in the US, people are pretty oriented locally. Everybody is talking about his local things, about being in New York or being in Tennessee or being proud on what's going on in Nashville or whatever. But all this is exported, of course, to the world. So in Germany, in Europe, we always have this American culture, basically by the media power, also, of course, and also,
Mm-hmm.
but by our demands and belongs from our side. So as our momentary pop culture, whatever, is built up,
Yes.
we have these local images basically presented over here to be a completely different thing. So then we have to see all these local places because they get a different meaning in the whole context when you look at them from a distant side, from a different life, from a
Right.
different place. And so I also had the discussion where somebody was asking me, yeah, what the European cities are much more interesting because they're much better places to live or whatever, because they have all these old buildings on these small roads and all the piazzas and well, basically, to some extent, I think New York is as European as it maybe can get in the United States. So it feels more familiar. It feels like a big, to some extent, in New York feels like to me, it feels like a big overblown version of Berlin. Um, so
Yeah.
if you so
Been to
that's why
Berlin once. once.
feel pretty comfortable in the city because I'm on some extent I know how to move in
Right.
but anyway, that comes from the different that we from Europe. If we come over, we see all well, basically can visit our cultural heritage to some extent, and that's what Mario did. So
He I mean, it was cool. He was on board for New York. Talking about knowing a thing by going and walking,
yeah,
it seems like perhaps travel is on the mind. Are
yeah.
you thinking of, I know you're doing the November dates. Are you thinking maybe next year of touring more in Europe? I know there's hints of other things, but we don't have to talk about that. But just in general, touring more.
We can talk about that because well, generally speaking, for us at the band, it is like, of course, we like Mani has a regular daytime job, and basically, okay, I'm doing the record label, so I'm a bit free and about planning my time. But we can't play too many concerts every year. We can play about 25 shows every year. That's about it. And if we are doing a tour or whatsoever, this is already our holiday time. So this is
Right.
time. Of course, you don't. Okay, we have paid holidays, but you know it's a few weeks, and you can't spend the time with the family, and we all have
Right.
kids apart from Mario, and so this is what we do, and I think it's okay to play just 25 shows and be a bit rare and take more effort into these shows and not being on road all the time. I also think it's too exhausting for myself to be longer on the road than 2 weeks. So I always admire all the other bands who go on the road for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks.
Yeah.
I think it's terrifically exhausting. But yeah, we are thinking about, because of course doing our usual things in Europe, making the usual nightliner tour through the German cities to maybe then over to France, going maybe to England or down to Spain, or what the things we do. This is of course really great, and we love to do it. But then of course we had to learn that we have audience maybe in some other places of the world. And for a long time, it was very difficult to go there, because if we go there, it's maybe for once in a lifetime. So we don't have as Color Haze, we don't have any career we do as a band. We are now all around 50, and so the most important thing is if we come and go places, we want to present our art. We really want to show, with all the difficulties you have with overseas concerts, but what it is about, what our best side, you know.
Right. Right.
And therefore, it was not possible for us a long time to go to the US or anything else and tour there, because we don't know how we wouldn't have known how to set it up and to make it possible. And just yes, with this an invitation to Desert Fest New York, a few other things opened up, a few other invitations to South America, which look very realistic, and also the possibility to maybe join another band, friends of us. We like them very much, and not telling much more now, but
Yes.
maybe
Yes.
join them next year for a tour in the US. So we want to split up between the things, and playing the concert that work for us, concerts that are paid and basically comfortable to make, and then also take some effort and go other places, even if we, yeah, of course, if we go to the United States or if we go to South America, basically we won't earn money. So we are investing in this. We are investing in our holiday time and our family time, and of course we are investing money to go these places and play for the people. But yeah, we are about it. I think it's about time that we do this and go to the places and play for the people wherever they are. In the way that is possible, that's doable. And so we have some plans to make a good mix between European shows and some overseas stuff for next year and maybe 2025. I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah.
We are working on some stuff.
Okay. Is Electrohash full-time for you at this point?
Basically, no.
Okay.
Electrohash has been too much in the end because in the like 10 years ago when Electrohash was running really well and I had like 35 bands on the label,
Yeah.
this was more than a full-time job, but it was still at a point where I couldn't get anybody else in. I couldn't hire somebody to help me with the work.
Okay.
So at some point, Electrohash simply became too much, and what was meant to make it possible for myself to live from the music and also share other music I'm excited for with other people became suddenly a vehicle which prevented me for having time for my own music. And I was thinking and trying ways for a long time how to find ways to adjust and find space and time again to be creative. And yeah, no, then family was coming, our son was born, and also the same thing for the other band members. So things are constant change, and there are other things that are more important in life than making records. So
I've heard that. Yeah.
I was cutting down on Electrohash a lot, and now basically it's the vehicle still for me to live from my own music with Color Haze, but I simply can't do it anymore for other bands. The good thing is when I started Electrohash, there was basically in Europe there was nobody really interested in releasing this kind of music.
Heard
So
that.
yeah, so all this bands like which now became also classics like My Sleeping Karma or Rotor or Sungrazer or even All the Witches didn't find a label or anybody to release them. And today, thankfully, there's more labels. There's Heavy Side Sounds. There is Tone Sonnen Records. They're everywhere. There are small dedicated labels picking up where I left, basically. So I'm not so needed in this aspect anymore, I think, and that's a good thing. And basically, I want to focus more at the moment of being creative and dealing with Color Haze music in every aspect, in playing live, but also composing and mixing here in the studio, whatever.
Well, how much composing then are you doing? You got the studio? Are you writing all the time, or do you leave it for a while?
Um, Actually, composing for my way doesn't work that way that I sit down every day and do some composition work. It works to some extent in a way that I have to create time bubbles where I can be creative in a way where things just happen. So this means basically I'm picking up the guitar at the moment every day. More or less, and play for 1 or 2 hours. And I have a little Zoom recorder. And if I'm working on songs, I have ideas. I'm improvising with them. If I have a new idea, I record it. I listen to it in the studio and try to remember learn the good things, the good parts, skip the bad or the not so good parts, and then bring it back to the band and the rehearsals. Where we improvise about the stuff again until it really the pieces become get their form for becoming a musical piece. And then I have actually also composition work where I sit down and write something like a bridge or whatever parts that you need. So I really sit down then and write stuff, or sitting down and writing the lyrics. But yeah, basically there's a lot of kind of different flowing processes I try to manage in some way. I don't. It's difficult to explain.
Two thoughts from that. I want to talk about the lyrics to Sacred because you mentioned sitting down and sort of concentrating on writing the lyrics, and the lyrics to Sacred stuck out to me and seemed pretty important. Before I do that, though, how often are you and Mario and Manny all in the same room together? You mentioned rehearsals and bringing the songs to guys in rehearsal. How often are you guys in the same room?
Too rarely at the moment again, but yeah, also because we have a lot of shows in between. I think The usual thing we did in the beginning with Color Haste and with Philip on bass was that we, like 20 years ago, we rehearsed 2 times a week. We rehearsed Monday and Thursday night. Every week we had our rehearsals. And as we didn't have many shows to play in the beginning, we of course were improvising and rehearsing a lot of new songs all the time. So that's why in the beginning we made 3 records just like that within 2 years.
Yes.
And of course, we take more care about the compositions, and a lot of stuff we made fast hand in the beginning now takes more time because we take more effort in the details, and also don't follow every idea we that may pop up in the improvisations. And at the moment, we try. The problem is now Mario is living in Vienna, which is like 450 kilometers away from Munich.
Okay.
So he comes over by train every 2 weeks and stays overnight. So every 2 weeks, this is basically the schedule we want to have. We have 2 days after, like a Wednesday and a Thursday or something, where we rehearse in the nighttime after work, basically. Yeah. So it's like from 7 to 10. No, not that much time. And that's basically the time we have together in a room. And then, of course, we switched over to doing also things online that like the little Zoom recordings I told you about, and I sent stuff to Mario so he can think about already about bass lines at home, which he's doing. So we kind of try to adjust to the situation we have and find the best possible time and ways to open up spaces to be creative. It's quite a task. But that's, at the moment, it's the most important thing for me to manage this, to keep on making interesting music. At least interesting for myself.
Right.
So I hope so very much for others as well. But yeah.
It seems like that would also maybe having that defined time limit and of course sending the files beforehand so stuff can be worked on at home, people can come in with ideas. It seems like maybe that having that time limit might also force you to be a little bit more efficient in how you use the time.
Yeah, but
sorry to catch you mid sip.
Time efficiency is a difficult thing because it doesn't work like that yet in music, that you make a schedule and you work through things because you say you have to work through point A, B, and C. Sometimes it's more efficient to be at some point. So this is not a general how to do it, but at some points it's more efficient to create a space and leave an open space also time-wise, so where maybe 1 hour not much things is happening, you're doing something else, and then within 5 minutes you got the thing. And other times you work around stuff really heavily for 3 hours and don't get nowhere. So the most difficult thing about this efficiency is to get to this soft efficiency to really hit the spots where you really find things quickly in some way, and don't work yourself off on stuff, which it's yeah.
And to shift that back to the lyrics, how does that apply there? Creating that space.
I'm fighting with the lyrics. Lyrics is a very long, but it's a kind of a similar process. I mean, when we are writing the songs, and if there is vocals for the songs, I have the melody pretty early often, and I'm skating along with the songs for a long time. And the difficult process is then with the lyrics, I have to find a theme which I can write about. Then I have to find some kind of sentences or whatever, and then I have the scatting melody, and I have to fit in all this meaning I want to tell into these melodies, so the words fit. And also, I think this is a quite delicate process. It's not so. I'm not a poet. It's not so much really like it's not as free, and just things are coming from outside, from something else, like I'm composing the music, but it's really like more like actual composition work of sitting down and finding the right words at the right places so you can sing them well, and it gets the meaning of, or at least capture something of the pictures you actually want to draw and show to the people with the lyrics. And this is a process. Yeah, I'm often procrastinating away. I'm just, sometimes I just really sit down to write the lyrics when we are doing the album, and
Like record,
this is
like during the recording.
when we do the recording of the album, maybe before, because making our albums is basically, we have the one part which is the live recording of the
Basic
band, where
tracks.
we are all together in a room, and we have the basic tracks. This is what we do live, and for this today we go to different studios. And for the rest, of course, I have my tiny little home studio here, and I can, which I enjoy very much, to use them to take some time for vocals and whatever, and then I can sit. So then I spend a lot of time here sitting down, also recording already, maybe changing things, and this is, then I'm into a studio process also with singing and making lyrics inside here. So this is, but so there's a lot of it. It can look a lot of different ways to create this music.
Right, a lot of different angles of approach.
Yeah.
And I it's funny that procrastinating lyrics. I vividly recall writing lyrics in the car before going in to record the vocals. Yes, I get that. It's hard sometimes. I mean, even when you have an idea of what a song is about, it can be very, very hard to find, as you say, the sentence, the phrasing, right? That right word, that's just the right syllable at just the right time. It is
Absolutely.
Yes, it can be a pickle. You are very often, of course, remixing and remastering older records. And tell me about that experience for you, because not only are you sort of re-engaging with your own work creatively again, presumably you're also using for some of it at least, a newer technology to remaster, or just revisiting.
Well, it's two aspects. The one aspect is I had to do this because I switched the pressing plants. I had all the vinyl pressing tools at one factory in Germany, and at some point where the absolute vinyl boom was going on for 2 or 3 years ago, they decided to raise their prices 3 times within 2 weeks, and then also raise the prices for things that have already been ordered just because they couldn't deliver on time. So they said something like, okay, we can just deliver your stuff in April because we are full. And so you have to pay already March prices, even if you ordered in August or whatever. And so I was, and as I wasn't also too satisfied with the quality anymore. They used to be very good, but there was also the usual management bullshit, you know, when they get out, they experience good people to get in some cheaper workers and stuff. So they did a lot of bullshit in that. So I switched over to a different pressing factory to have my, and I owned all the tools, all the pressing tools, all the metal from which the vinyl records are stamped. So they had to be sent over to the other factory also in Germany. But don't know if you could think anything bad about it. When they arrived there, all my tools were broken. So I had to make new cuts. I have to make new cuts for every Color Haze record. So all the basically the archive or build up has been gone. And as it's also now like nearly 30 years, it's on some extent, it's maybe now the right time to have a look at the old tapes again for remixing if possible, or remastering. Yeah, because of we recording our music was always difficult. We took a lot of effort in it, but of course not everything was accessible for us. We are a small band. We had to record a lot of in underground situations, in tight time schedule situations. Of course, to some extent, you know, we weren't recording with the absolutely super pros of San Francisco or whatever with the super producers.
Right.
So but we always had to find out ourselves about how to do things, how to achieve what we want. And it was always a bit up to us. And so I always see that, of course, there is also some potential to make some things to get the music across better.
Right.
And it's so at the moment, one process is that I kind of arrange my heritage or arrange the band's heritage also record-wise for the future, because now is the time where I can remix and where I can remaster. I think it won't be done ever again. So because now I can play the tapes, and maybe in 25 years I can't play the tapes anymore.
Right.
And also I will be deaf in 25 years, so this
right. And
won't be won't be helpful. And well, remixing the stuff, on the other hand, is a very refreshing experience, because I'm more loose and I'm more easy about it, and I have a bit more distance. I'm pulled back from it, and I can look at the whole thing and just look at it and say, okay, what does the song maybe need to get across better?
Mm-hmm.
And when we recorded this stuff, I'm always very, very close into the music.
Of course.
So I don't want to change much. I want to keep it very raw, very much like just we did it. And maybe I'll, you know, after 1 or 2 years, I lean back and look at it and think, oh, no, it's not really getting the picture. I was too close. I was too much into it, and this is not what it could be or what it should be for this song. And so, to some extent, it's a bit annoying to mix all this stuff again, and at some point it's also refreshing, because I'm not so much suffering with the material. Then when the material is fresh, I'm suffering with it. I'm really so much into it, and I'm so much into detail. And now it's an easier, more fun process, actually. I'm more loose about it, and also about effects and all the audio processing you do, like equalization, compressing, and whatever. I try more things, and basically I think I get to good results. So I like the new mixes better. At the moment, I'm doing In Her Garden. So I don't know if you can see it here.
There it is. Yes.
Here's the mix. Here's the mix of the second part of Sky Dancer.
Okay.
And here's the tape.
Wow.
The 24 tape on which is recorded. And yeah, but I'm taking always some days off, and sometimes then I listen a bit back to it, then I go back to the studio, switch it on for 2 or 3 hours, make a new mix. And I'm not going into absolutely detailed perfection like I normally do, like this guitar has to be that loud and this board, and if I didn't need it, I have to do it all over again. And things you don't ever hear anymore after, with the distance of 2 or 3 years. So but I think as I got now a bit more loose, and I'm taking a bit more time and a bit more easiness about this process, I think it's turning out pretty good, because I just get in the studio, listen a bit here to a bit here and there, and then I go away. And I think this is more time effective than if I'd stay in the studio like 12 hours a day and getting lost in all the stuff. So at the moment, I think In Her Garden will turn out good. And yeah, it's just like this year I got the monitoring in this place, right? Because also the studio was a long story, and it was also in different rooms, and I had to, of course, it looks like it, but I don't have an endless budget. So
you have a very nice ceiling.
When Electrohash was running good, I could invest by taking a bank loan in some nice tools, and also by occasion. But now it's what it is, and I won't change it anymore. And the monitoring situation in studios is always pretty much a task. It's difficult to get it really right in the end. And just this year I got it really right. So I'm also, it's easier for me to work and mix now. And I think I get to better results more swiftly. Yeah.
So I was a little nervous when Los Sounds de Krauts was coming back out. Because I mean, that's, you know, it's a record I kind of have sentimental attachment to. And
Yeah,
so, and I was like, well, this might be different. Oh no. But no, I felt like the newer version had the warmth
yeah,
and had the clarity of it.
yeah, yeah,
And I felt like that kind of came through and was preserved. Um, but it also had kind of a new life, the
yeah,
sound. I will look forward to hearing In Her Garden.
yeah.
Would you ever tackle She Said?
I would. I basically, I'm in the meantime, I'm at a point where I would think it wouldn't be too difficult to do it for me anymore because now I have a good monitoring situation, so it's very much easier for me to make the right decisions. Because She Said, at least transformation, which is left from the really difficult, is extremely difficult to mix because the live recording signals don't fit together from phases. You have comb filter effects and stuff, which are really, really strange in the song. And you have to do some quite, and all is analog. So you have to do quite some audio tricks to get um, to mix all the, shifting phases, doing delays and stuff. And I think I would have a easier time to find out because you can get lost in these processes. You get in such a fine hearing, and you get lost in all these really frequency spots and whatever. It's extremely nasty to get this comfort and phasing effects right. But as I have the better monitoring, I think it would be very much more easier. I'm just for She Said, I'm a bit hesitating because I'm afraid um, the tapes, the 24, the 2-inch tapes might not be as good as anymore
Hmm.
as they should be because they were from a different brand than the ones I use now, and especially the ones I used tend to age not very good.
Okay.
And well, these tapes are now 13, 14, 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I hesitate, but I never wanted to do it again. But now I'm at a moment where I said, yeah, I can get this right. Maybe I can get it better. Actually, I'm thinking of different stuff then, but of course this is also this is up to these things are up to the band because from the development, I think as from the artistical side today, I would see that like the best songs of To the Highest Gods We Know and the centerpieces of She Said would be one record, and I should leave out some of the weaker tunes of She Said to make a better record of the both together, because then would be really a killer album. But this is some kind of private artistical thoughts I have.
Right.
So,
Okay. So
because I have the label, I can do that.
Private Press, right? Is that so?
Yeah, I can, I'm an artist. I can decide. So I can say,
Of
okay,
course. But
you
let's
can't,
okay.
you can hear stand-in only anymore on the old version because I don't think it's really that precious song to
Mhm.
some extent.
This is it. Oh, I'm interested. Okay. So She Said Into the Highest Gods We Know, right?
Mm.
She Said came as this 4 years in the making. I recall vividly what a monumental pain in the ass it was for you to make that record. And if anyone is watching this, go on the Obelisk. There's a very long description of the interview from
Yeah,
like 11 years ago, where you're telling that story, and it's brutal.
yeah.
What happened making that record? Um, to the Highest Gods We Know, was that recorded at the same time, or was it? I didn't think it
No,
was.
it was recorded. It was recorded basically 2 years after, but at the
Okay.
same place in the same
Oh,
circumstances.
okay.
And at that point, it was meant then after the exhaustion of making She Said, it was I just wanted to make a record, a simple, plain LP, and not going too much into details and stuff. And well, this is the next one to be remixed anyway,
Mhm.
because at that point I went a bit too loose and a bit too rough about it, and I think some
It is a
songs
band
of
in room album. very much
Yeah,
in my head. Yeah.
yeah. It will stay like this, of course, but you know, still it can the record still can have more transparency
Mm.
and more openness. And I don't also from In Her Garden, I won't change the character. It was recorded. In Her Garden was another catastrophic recording story. And in the end, it ended up to be recorded in our rehearsal space. Also during the time when we were also wanted to go to the Psycho Las Vegas Festival in 2016 and all crashed and we couldn't go there because of other reasons. So we were in a really difficult situation where we took holidays to make a record and to go to Las Vegas, and everything crashed and nothing worked because we wanted to go to a different studio, to a good room, a good sounding, great studio. Well, they canceled our date 1 week before the studio, and then we couldn't. We had the holidays booked, so in the end we went into our rehearsal room, which was an old beer cellar, 4 storages underground.
Mm-hmm.
In Munich, and with a very poor electricity, and I think it was connected to the Oktoberfest, and they were setting up the Oktoberfest also at this time with huge cranes and stuff, and this was affecting the electricity to some extent that somebody must have shut off a thing, and we just got with the elevator, we just got the tape machine down there. Oh no, this is what it looks like.
Yes, it
So
does
this
not
is
look like. Yes.
yeah, it's quite it's a quarter ton of
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
So,
That's yeah.
so we just got it down there, and there must have been some kind of electric overblown, like 800 volts or something on the net just from shutting off the crane or whatever in this basement. And the tape machine was fucked just as we got it down there. And also the elevator got fucked. The elevator never got repaired again. So we had to carry up the tape machine in the end in pieces, all the 4 storages.
So we stole the crane and we
Yeah,
yeah.
no, that's wonderful. I think in the meantime they demolished the place. But so in the end, we were 1 week. We were sitting down there and watching our sound engineer trying to repair the tape machine. And then also was the second, and this was a very special situation. We recorded the album, and of course, all this will be kept in the album. I'm not changing any stuff, so it will be still the same recordings. I just do a better mix. This is to my today's view. I do a bit of more transparent, open mix that is maybe getting across, and maybe the mix is showing more of the details because it's maybe not so totally guitar heavy as I used to mix it. Maybe you hear a bit more of the drums or a bit more of the keyboards, so that can happen. But I think by the feedback I get from the majority of people, that might be welcome.
Tell me about the idea. What does transparency mean to you in that context in the recording?
Well, maybe I'm using the wrong term. The more interesting term for myself, or what I really try to achieve, is what I would call openness.
Okay.
So we call it. We always talk about, if I talk with Willy Dammer or whatever, we talk about it sounds open. So the signals are sound in a way they're not choked. They can breathe. You know, you hear the air around the signal. It sounds natural and fluent and at ease, and not like really. And a lot of you can get through a lot of parts of a recording, but just getting everything to the limit and put it just right on your face. And but it's not really this might be impressive to listen at first because but it's not really appealing for me. It's not. I want to make the music in a way to a lot of the old, especially from the good recordings from the 70s or something, have this quality of openness. The signals are not over compressed, and you can also always dive into the sound because you have a picture before you of the sound where you can go in between and walk around. This is maybe what I'm also mean with transparency. You can go and watch at. I don't mean necessarily to give it more trouble. What other people.
No, I know. Yeah, I know what you
I
mean.
mean, so I mean, you know, it should be easy accessible. You should have an easy access, you know, to really walk into the sound picture, visit the drums, visit the cowbell, whatever you want to see in the picture. So and everything comes more as much as is possible. It's not possible for every signal because the circumstances of a recording and are always difficult and different. And of course, the thing that we are trying to do, making like a jazz recording of a loud rock group all together in one room, is pretty challenging to some extent. But
I would think so. But that's sort of the difference. I think the way I think about it in my head is you always see someone inevitably every time a new Beatles remaster comes out,
yeah,
somebody posts the waveform and it's the full blown, like takes up the entire thing, blown out waveform, full volume that has been raised, and the loss of the intricacy, the details in that as part of that. Is that kind of along the same what you're talking about?
Yeah, but yeah, absolutely.
Preserving
Because
that dynamic.
I don't want to want to make the stuff more louder or something.
Right.
So you will maybe, for example, the old Lost Sound, the Krauts mix was way much louder, way much more compressed, way much more in your face than the new mixes. I think the new mix is more on the move. It's more vivid and more open, and so it does not necessarily making things better. Does not makes necessarily mean making things louder or getting also with the remasters, you know, showing every detail, you know, look how nice they recorded the, I don't know, the congas in 1965. You didn't hear the congas in Sergeant Pepper's yet. Well, listen to the remaster. There are the congas.
There they are. Yep.
And this is not the point. As this is also not. I want to listen to these old records. I understand that also a lot of with the new vinyl boom, a lot of labels had the problem that there were no masters anymore for repress Rolling Stones or Beatles or whoever records on vinyl. They were all scrapped and they were gone, and so they had to do these remasters, of course. And then, of course, you try to make something better, and well, what is better is different to everybody. So,
of course. So okay, I'm gonna let you go in a minute, and thank you for hanging out.
You can go on like this forever. You see, I like talking.
Good. I'm happy to talk. You know, as you've revisited these things, these records that you've made and these works that you've done, at the same time, in the last 5 years, you've also Color Haze has been at least partially remade around you and Manny. How do you feel about where the band is now, and how do you see moving through sort of that next stage, like you were talking about before, going new places and doing new things, even making new records with these guys as opposed to you know just Philip and Manny. And Jan is great and a sweetheart, and Mario is great and a sweetheart, and I'm not knocking. But my question, I guess, is for you personally, what are you looking forward to about the next few years of creating and being in Color Haze?
Well, this is a lot of aspect at the moment, because I'm actually in the end, I'm happy now how things turned out, and I'm very happy that Mario is in the band now, and of course all the development with Philip was very tragic, and it was really a heartbreaking thing, this split with Philip, and but on the retrospective, it looks like we were giving the possibility to make an evolution where we got a bit stuck before in the we already tried to get out of being stuck or getting stuck even, because let's start at some different point.
Okay.
It would when we started, nobody, I mean, we are a little band from Germany and nobody took care about what we are doing. So we had fun with music and made our small little scene in Europe with all these people we could meet and we liked and whatever, and around friends, and never really realized or even thought about that we would create something like an audience. And suddenly we came into a situation around the early 2010, 2012, where, we came to shows and people were queuing up for seeing the shows. We came to London or Paris the first time, and people were queuing up around the block to see us. And suddenly we were in a situation that people had expectations, and suddenly we were kind of, before it was, we always could make a new album and it didn't matter so much. It wasn't also that many albums, but suddenly we came to be as a band which has made classics. And now we were in something like, what people expected. People expected them that we play Temple or Aquamaria or the stuff they knew from the internet, and the stuff they suddenly we had record with the same title and Temple, where people said, okay, if your Color Haze had made 10 records and these are the two to pick. If you were do a start with Color Haze, yeah, take these two. So this was a new situation we had to handle to some sort of way, because it affected a lot of the ways we were actually working, because it was taking away freedom. And it was also rewarding and great on the other hand. It's also great if you have something like a hit or whatever, as you may call it. You start the song at the concert and people go, wow,
Yeah.
because they hear the song. That's rewarding, and I like this, of course. So that's why we try to have to find a way to play our old songs, but also to stay fresh and not become, an oldie band of ourselves.
Right.
And then also for ourselves and our lives, as this is a long process, things were changing. We were having families and stuff. And we were working more because we're getting older, and it was not so easy, like in our mid-20s. And so we tried the first evolution when already in like 2015 we thought like, it would be nice, to expand the sound, do something with keyboard sounds, not only in studio but also live.
Right.
And well, as you wish and had look forward, things might happen because you direct your attention to stuff. So we got Jan into the band. And anyway, in the end, it felt a bit still stuck. And now at the moment, I personally feel like went all through the last years were quite challenging with all the changes, and but I felt like I'm through at the moment with a lot of stuff, and I feel like I'm a bit liberated. I'm working on new music at the moment, and I think it's great. I think it's great music. I have some fantastic riffs, and I have plans where sometimes that's something I do. This is not what the band is doing. We talk about this, but this is just my part that I say, okay, like for Sacred, my intention was 2 years ago, I want to make a rock record with shorter songs again, and not so many long tunes. And I was listening to a lot of the stuff, music I listened to when I was young.
You there?
I'm still there.
Okay.
I just don't see you at the moment, but as long as
I'm here.
It works on. Oh yeah, okay. And in the end, I was listening to a lot of stuff where I was listening to in the 90s when I was young, like 18 years old and whatever. And in the end, 2 years later, I was sitting in the studio and listening to the record and thinking, oh yeah, it sounds pretty much like 90s to some extent. Some moves of the riffs you do. This was like very 1993 or something, whatever. And because that's where we come from, basically. And new plan is, of course, and now I would like to make a record, a double album of 4 great pieces of 20 minutes without vocals. So that's the moment. Let's see what will happen. The opposite.
Yes. Do one thing, then do the other. Very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the pressure is out at the moment. You know, we are not expected to do an album every 2 years. I'm out of this. You know, making a new album, going on tour, making a new album, going on tour, and
Out of
getting
the
the wheel
cycle.
rolling. So we are kind of a classic band, whatever, in this little subculture, you know, for a few people, and. So we can play live, and we don't have to be in the market again all the time with new stuff. So we kind of can go on tour, and people want to listen to the old records anyway. I can make a new record, and they will buy Temple. So that's all right. That also kind of gives us a lot of freedom as a band. So
Does. Yes.
the main challenge is to stay fresh and relevant. I see one of my concerns is that you see a lot of great bands who've had so fantastic records at their peak times, and then suddenly they lost it to some way. I don't know why don't make the Rolling Stones a record which is as relevant anymore as Sticky Fingers since Sticky Fingers, or I don't know. What is happening? And there's a lot of these old bands where maybe I'm missing it. Maybe they do great records and I just listen to the classics. Maybe I do the same things, but maybe, you know, there's not much there, and I don't want that to be to happen. I would be rather nice that we come as a collective, as a band, to be if we age, we become like the old composers in the classic. I mean, Beethoven wrote all his #1 hits in his old age, so he was becoming better, and this is maybe my main concern. I would love to do this, to become better, make better music and more appealing music when I'm 70 than when I was 25.
Okay.
And of course, you always have to look back and see what was good then. Why was this good? Why is it not as touching anymore? Not why doesn't come across as heartfelt or whatever? What you do now, is it just that people want to listen to the old stuff and don't get the new stuff, or have you lost something? And so you always have to kind of readjust. And it's I'm into this delicate process of aging with music and as a person.
Yes.
And but trying not to, you know, get stuck, but to develop on, to go to other places. And from the other side, from the live band side with Mario and Jan, it's as good as this year as it never was. I think this year we only played, even if we were not so happy with our performance, the show was still really good. I think what we bring on stage, the tightness of the whole show we bring on stage. I think we were never on live. We were never as good and as interesting and as how to say also. Sorry, sometimes I'm fighting with words.
No, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. No, you're saying live. Even I guess I think what you were saying was you think of the studio incarnation of Color Haze as sort of more what it is for you than live, which I guess makes sense, since you're not out, as you said, since you're not out touring 6 months out of the year. I think that makes a lot of sense. I tend to think of creativity as a compulsion, at least in my own experience, and sort of a need to do this thing. So do you, if I miss a day, I feel it. Do you?
What does it mean? If I miss the day?
If I miss, like, let's say you go a day, 2 days without picking up a guitar. Do you feel that?
Yes and no. Yeah, like for example, yesterday I didn't pick up the guitar because that's life coming in between. We were getting how do you call them in English? We got jalousies for the windows
Okay.
on this house.
Blinds.
I had to wire them and do the electrics for them, and or at least cover the electrics, to cover the cables up. And so I was outside and working on the house, and this took quite some time. And then I was doing a few little office things, and then was bringing my boy to the bed, and it was nighttime, and I was exhausted, and I didn't felt like picking up the guitar. I just wanted to relax and have. But then I felt like, oh yeah, okay, but you also have to pick up the guitar, and you also have to. This maybe is, to some extent is the same thing. Like you think, oh, I didn't do my sports today,
Right.
or I didn't do my Pilates exercises, or
Right.
whatever you do. I didn't do my Tai Chi. Whatever. I also didn't do my Tai Chi yesterday. Would have maybe helped me to pick up my guitar.
Isn't that terrible?
But sometimes,
Oh my
it's
God.
just like, and then I think, okay, it's good for the. You have to learn to let loose and say, okay, then it's good for this. Then it's a day like this. Then it's not happening this day. If I have a good 10 minutes the next day and create something really before I'm annoyed by playing guitar, then it was good for something. So
Yes. There you go.
I always try to see it this way.
That's a good way to view it, man. Middle age is weird. It's a weird
Yeah.
time of life. It's weird. It's a weird place. Stefan, thank you. I'm gonna let you go. Thank you. I'm gonna stop the recording right now, but thank you so much for taking the time, for hanging out. It was wonderful to see you in New York. I hope to see you again next year. I'm gonna stop the recording and
Yeah.
and thank you again. Here we go.
Thank you, Jay. It was